Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. Also make sure you turn off your hot and cold water supplies. In this video we're going to show you how to change out the Samsung washer circulation pump. It's going to be a very easy repair and it should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the new circulation pump. The circulation pump is what circulates the water through the machine as it's washing. The main reason to be changing it out is if the impeller or the motor is bad and it's not circulating the water, or the body is cracked and you're getting water on the floor. Before we take the machine apart, we have to remove the 3 screws along the bottom and disconnect the drain hose from its little holder. Remember, the machine is heavy, so if you need to get somebody to help you, make sure you do. But we're going to tilt the washer back and put a block of wood underneath it to support it. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver to remove the 3 screws. Now that we have the screws out, we can remove the wooden block. Make sure you get somebody to help you if you need to. Anytime you're changing either the pump motors or the tub to pump hose or the tub itself, you want to drain as much water out of that so when you're changing the part, you don't get water all over the place. All you have to do is press down on this release lever and open the door. Then get something to catch the water in, and then you can reach inside and pull the drain hose off. To get the drain cap off, all you have to do is pull it out. And then make sure you lower it down into the bowl so you catch any water. Once you have most of it drained out, you can lift it back up and put the drain cap in. You can just close the door again. In order to get to the part, we have to take off the top of the washer. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver to remove the screws. Now that we have the screws out, we can take the top off. All you have to do is pull it back about an inch or so, far enough so these locking tabs come out, and then you can lift it off and set it aside. With the top out of the way, we can remove the detergent drawer. All you have to do is pull it out and press this little button right here to release it. Once you have it released, you can pull the drawer out and set it aside. Now that we have the detergent drawer out of the way, we can use our Phillips screwdriver to remove these 2 screws so we can push the whole dispenser back. With the screws out, we can push this back so it clears the opening. Now we can take off the control panel. There's a couple tabs along the top, so all you have to do is kind of lift up on the plastic and pull towards the front of the washer. Once you have them released, you can rotate the panel forward so we can disconnect the 2 wiring harnesses. To disconnect the wiring harnesses, all you have to do is press on the tab to release them and pull them apart. With the wiring harnesses disconnected, we can pull the console off. With the control panel out of the way, we can open up the washer door so we can remove the screws that hold the door switch and lock assembly in. We're going to use a Phillips screwdriver and remove all 3. Now that we have the door switch unmounted, we can take the outer spring clamp out. There's usually a spring down at 6 o'clock. We're going to take a small flathead screwdriver and carefully get underneath it. Once we have it pried out, we're going to go counterclockwise and take the clamp off the seal. With the clamp off the door boot seal, we're going to pull it out of its channel and kind of get it off the front panel. Now we can close the door and remove these 4 screws that hold the top of the panel in. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver to take them out. Now that we have the screws out, we're going to open up the door again And we have to lift up the front panel to get it off these two tabs right here. To get the front panel off, we're going to lift it up just a little bit. So we see the white panel come up over the tabs. Once you have it released, you want to be careful to not let it drop because the door wants to pull it down. We have to reach in and release these hoses out of these clips right here. There's one here and there's one at the bottom. All you have to do is pull it out carefully. Sometimes the whole tab will come right off. That's okay, you can just leave it on there. And then we have to lower it down a little bit more so we can pull that drain hose out that we took out of its mounting clip. With the hoses out of the way, we can lift the front panel off the 3 brackets on the bottom. Once you have it released, you can set it aside. Now that we have the front panel off, we have access to the part. It's located down here in the lower left corner of the washer. We already drained the water out, but we're still going to get some when we take the hoses off. So we're going to throw a towel down here just to catch any of it. Then we can go in and remove the clamps and the hoses. We're going to remove this hose first. This one has a squeeze clamp. All you have to do is squeeze it together and pull it up the hose. And then you can pull this hose off the pump assembly and get it out of the way. Then we can reach underneath and remove the other 2 clamps and hoses. All you have to do is compress these and push the clamps up the hoses and then take them off the housing. Now that we have the hoses off the assembly, we can take off the screws that hold down the pump assembly to the bottom of the washer. There's one on each side, located right by the rubber foot. You got to use a 12mm socket and reach down in there so we can take them out. Once you have this bolt out, you can set it aside. Once you have those 2 screws out, there's a little rubber mount right in the back right here. So we're going to have to push this assembly back and then lift up to pull it out. Once you have it out, you can feed this hose through the opening and then we can pull the assembly out. In order to get the assembly out, you may have to lift up on the tub a little bit to make room between the frame and the tub. To get this whole assembly to come out, this wire harness connector is stuck to the bottom of the machine, so you have to reach in with a small screwdriver and press these tabs to release this so you can pull this wire harness out far enough to get the whole assembly out of the washer. Now that we have the assembly out of the washer, we can disconnect the wires from the circulation motor. All you have to do is take a small screwdriver and pop this cover open. And the wires are underneath the cover. We're going to disconnect them. Remember, the black one is on the left and the gray one is on the right. All you have to do is wiggle them and carefully pull them out. If they're on there too tight, you can reach in with your small screwdriver and pop them off. Once you have the wires off, we're going to stand the assembly up on its end so we can remove the 3 screws that hold the circulation pump into the housing. Once you have the 3 screws out, we can lift the circulation pump out of the housing. Now that we have the circulation pump out of the assembly, we can take the cover off. There's a couple release tabs right in here, so you can take a small screwdriver and release them. Once you have them off, you can rotate the motor out of the cover. Here's the old circulation pump next to the new one. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at appliancepartspros.com. To put the new circulation pump in, first thing we're going to do is put the cover back on. So we're going to put the terminal side in first, so they go through the hole in the back, and then rotate it over so this side snaps on. Once you have it in place and locked on, we can line it up with the housing so we can put the screws in that hold it in place. Once you have it in there, we're going to stand it up so we can put the screws back in just like we took them out. Once you have the screws tightened down, we can reconnect the wires. Remember the gray one went on the right and the black one went on the left. All you have to do is push them onto the terminals. Make sure you press them down all the way so you get a good connection. Once you have them in place, we can close the protective cover. And then we can rotate this whole assembly back over and get ready to put it back into the washer. Once you get it lined up, we can line up the T so it goes into the bottom of the washer. Once you have the assembly back in place, we can use our 12mm socket to put these screws back in to hold it in place. Once you have both screws tightened down, we can reach back in and put the hoses on. We're going to put the drain hose on first. All you have to do is reach back and grab it and push it onto the fitting. Once you have it moved up all the way, you can move the clamp up. This one's pretty light. You might be able to do it with your fingers, at least to get it started. And then you can reach in with the pliers to compress it and move it up the rest of the way. When you're moving it up, there's a couple lines on the drain line. You want to put it right in between those two so it goes in the same spot as when you took it off, so you get a good seal. Then we can hook up the tub to pump hose. On this one, there's a little notch right at the top and a little fitting right here on the pump housing. You just want to make sure you slide those in so they kind of lock together. And then you can grab the clamp and move it up, same thing as the drain hose in between these two lines. The last one we have to do is the one that goes on the top. So we're going to reach in and grab that and push it down into place. Once you have it seated all the way down, we can just grab the clamp and squeeze it and move it down. Last thing we have to do before we put the washer together is push this wire harness holder down into the floor of the washer. All you have to do is press it into place so it locks in. Now that we have the pump assembly reinstalled, we can put the washer back together. To put the front panel back on, all you have to do is carefully set it onto the 3 brackets. We can stick that drain hose back into the housing. And then we'll slowly lift up the panel and either reclip or remount this onto the front panel. Once you have the hoses in, we can carefully push the panel up into place and make sure these 2 locking tabs snap in. Once you have the front panel pushed into place, we can put the 4 screws back in. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver to put those back in. Now that we have the front panel on the washer, we can open the door back up, and we have to reach inside the door boot seal and grab the door switch assembly and line it up so we can put the screws in. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver to put the screws in. As you're putting the first one in, you're going to have to reach inside and hold the switch in place. Now that we have the door switch mounted, we can put the door boot seal on. Remember, you have to put this lip right here, right in the channel. We have to go around the whole door and make sure it's in there properly. Once you go around and you're sure you have it in the channel, we can put the outer spring clamp back on. To put the clamp on, we're going to put the clamp down at 6 o'clock. Once you have the spring in there, we're going to hold it in place and then go around and put the spring clamp into the groove. Once you get over here to about 3 o'clock, it's going to be kind of hard to get on. We're going to hold it there and then grab the spring clamp with our locking pliers. and we want to pull out this way towards the side of the machine. If you pull out to the front, it's just going to pull the clamp right off. So just pull to the side and then put it into the channel. Once you have the spring clamp in place, we can close the door again so we can put the console on. To put the console back on, we have to line these locking tabs with these little holes. So when we put it up into place, they're lined up. So once you have it started, we're going to tilt it up a little bit, and then we're going to reconnect the harness wires. To reconnect the harness wires, all you have to do is match them up. There's two different sizes, so you can't mix them up. Just make sure you push them back together so they get a good connection and lock in place. With the wire harnesses connected, you want to carefully push the console up, making sure that the harnesses go through the hole, and then you can snap it into place onto this frame. Now we can put the detergent housing back into the opening. All you have to do is reach in and guide it forward so it comes out through the control panel. Once you have it in place and the screw holes lined up, we can use our Phillips screwdriver to put the screws back in. We can put the detergent drawer back in. All you have to do is line it up on its rails and push it back in so the tab locks. Once you have it in there, you can push it all the way in. To reinstall the washer top, we can set it down just like when we took it off, about 1 inch or so away from the tabs. Once you have them lined up, we can push it forward so it goes all the way in. Now that we have the top in place, we can use our Phillips screwdriver and put the screws back in. Now that we have everything else put back together on the washer, we can lift it up and use that wood block to support it so we can put the 3 screws in at the bottom. Remember to get somebody to help you if you need to, because the machine is heavy. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver to put the 3 screws back in. Now that we have the screws in, we can take the block out. Make sure you get somebody to help you if you need to. We can open up this panel and put the drain hose back in its retainer clip. Once you have it in place, you can close the door. Now that we have the washer put back together, we can plug it back in, turn the water back on, and take it for a spin. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.